Hey everybody, it's time for another round. I'm Rich Nelson. This is my guest this week, the very Natalie prepared Ken Rose, everybody.
And how about it for Rich, who brought a beautiful looking shirt on?
Well, thanks very much. I guess I got the pajama bottoms to match this thing. I didn't wear them tonight though. So how have you been? It's been a while since we've seen each other.
Good.
Kent's all over the place. KentRose.com or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. KentRose.com. We have all sorts of things to talk about here. We've got books, we've got CDs, we've got more CDs, we've got matchbooks. Yeah,
Ancient matchbooks at that.
matchbooks, they are.
Some places got 20-year-old scotch. We got 20-year-old matchbooks.
There you go. So a lot of good stuff. We'll be talking about all this stuff later. So we've known each other for a long time. We've traded stories and war stories and all sorts of things, but in a reasonable sized nutshell, where you started, how you got to where you are here right now, and some stuff in between. I know there's statute.
I know that's a lot of room there.
I know there's statute of limitations, things that are still out there, so we don't have to go into those, but go.
Well, no, I grew up in a household where folk ruled, and my parents listened to Pete Seeger a lot, you know, Mahalia Jackson, and that kind of thing. And so we just sang along with everything.
Sure.
And we'd go on family trips and we'd be singing in the car and that kind of stuff. So, you know, it just seemed kind of natural to me to sing, you know, and I never felt self-conscious, at least not singing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there was a moment when I was probably in about fifth grade, and our chorus teacher, Miss Lothberg, you know, she divided the boys and the girls. You know, she had the girls sing the Star Spangled Banner, and everything was fine.
Oh, yeah.
And then she had the boys sing the Star Spangled Banner, and you know, I was fine. And by the time I was through, I was the last man standing and singing. And I thought, pay attention. Maybe nobody else is comfortable with it. Maybe this is some kind of secret power I have.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And it is, and you've been powering your way through stuff for a long time. So, all right, so fifth grade, first band, high school bands, neighborhood.
I had, well, you know, I started playing at Hootenannies because they had, which was a word that, you know, cracks people up if they hadn't heard of it.
Yep.
I talked to the photographer and I said, yeah, you know, I was like the Hootenanny boy. And he says, what in the hell is a Hootenanny? And I said, well, I explained to him that at the time, you know, there was that TV show.
The TV show, yeah.
And so, you know, I'd play at the Glencoe Park District would have this Memorial Day Hootenanny. And, you know, back in those days, I would have, you know, Arnold Palmer, powder blue cardigan, sweater, you know, very folk, you know, like all the folk groups were.
Smoke the pipe.
It would have been appropriate, but I was only 14, so. But, yeah, and so I changed my style a little bit since then. As you know, you've seen some of the photos of me in high school. When I played in bands in high school, I played with a number of different bands. I played solo for a while, and then I got asked into a band called Sir Richard's Knights, you know, typical would-be British
Oh, yeah.
in the 60s. And then the keyboard player left and got another keyboard player. We became the Dover Souls, S-O-U-L-S.
Nice.
And that worked for a while. And then by the senior year, I was playing with a group called the Backpage Incident. That was when I was wearing my kangaroo fur poncho,
Sure.
which you may have seen.
Yeah, that's when that stuff was starting to happen.
And then by that second half of the senior year, I was playing with the Peep Show with Frank Purcell and all the guys who went into Ouray later.
Right.
Yeah, so, you know, so a bunch of different bands there. But I always played solo as well as playing with bands.
Okay, so when you were in high school, you were doing solo acts as well? Well,
Yeah.
The Hootenannies, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and I was sort of involved in the songwriting pretty early too. At one point, you know, I'd gone to see, there was a show down at Eric Crown with the Yardbirds, the Turtles, Lovin' Spoonfuls, as they put on the poster.
Spoonfuls.
And I thought, man, I got to get an autograph. You know, so I had an autograph. I still have the.
I do too.
You'd be glad to know.
I do too.
The Armand pickup.
Yeah.
And you know,
Oscar Schmidt.
but like I told a friend of mine, I said, you know, I remember Jen and Sebastian was able to play that thing standing up, because I could never do it.
Standing up, and in those days, pretty stoned.
Yeah, it's I just thought maybe I could write some songs, you know. So I started. The good thing with auto harp, you just press a button. But then I lost the slips of paper that told me what chord I was playing. Then when my career as an
Are
auto,
they marked on the face of the button? They have the little.
yeah, they do, but they were just like paper or
Ah,
something,
okay.
and they came
Some of
up.
them came out.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, if anybody, I still have the auto harp and the pickup, you know. So I have to put it on the market. I'm sure it's a collector's item upon them.
Or if anybody has button decals laying around that you might want to give to Kent to revisit the auto harp. I take out mine every, I don't know, 5, 10 years and tune it up and do a few little things, put it back in the box. And,
That's about what it
That's
takes.
it.
I understand unless they're already in tune,
yeah.
you know. But I mean, I also played a banjo ukulele before I went to guitar.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I actually recognized that it wasn't a banjo until I asked my parents for it. It was in the window at the record shop. And so I was in a ukulele duo, like in 7th or 8th grade too.
Wow.
And we played at, you know, Watts Field House at parties and stuff like that. But the guy I played with, he played baritone ukulele. So we were the ukabobs.
Sure you were.
And, you know, and things seemed to be going pretty well. And then one day I was on the playground, and all of a sudden a rock hit me in the back of the head. In my head.
That explains a
Even
lot.
a couple of stitches there. And he comes running, the baritone ukulele player, and says, "I was just trying to get your attention." And I says, "You got it." And that was the end of the ukabobs. It was artistic differences, I guess.
I would guess, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, well, you know.
I mean, I've had some interesting bandmates, but no one's ever, at least to my knowledge, maybe they did, but no one's ever tried to like kill me with a rock or anything. I mean, that's
Well,
pretty heavy.
as he said, you were just trying to get my attention.
sure.
I thought to myself, well, you could have just come over and tapped me on the shoulder
Could have.
to help too.
Could have, yeah.
So, you know, and so then I went off to college and played there some. There was a guy, my guitar teacher, who went to the same college at Beloit.
Okay.
And we played as a duo. And this guy, Jim Peterman, who played with the Steve Miller Band, he was the keyboard player on their first 2 records. He lived in Beloit, and he heard us playing because we played at the at church on Sundays. You know, that's how you make money in college. And so we you know, he was interested in us, but our recording didn't make it. You know, I think he sent it to David Adderley, who was running Elektra Records at the time and stuff. You know, so you know, I was always playing, and then once I left college, I never went back. You know, and then I played up in Madison, Wisconsin, and lived up there for 5 years.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, it was nice. I mean, playing at the Good Karma Coffee House. I mean, what could be better? You know, so.
When you leave your house and you know you're going to Good Karma,
Exactly.
there's nothing to beat that. You were in a big band for some time.
Yeah, what happened was the band that I was in from 74 to 78, the Baraboo Band, which was the one that went on tour with Tanya Tucker and did pretty well in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few years later, after we had broken up, and you know, I was working at the post office, and then the guitar player from the band, his dad had a society orchestra.
Okay.
And so he said to me, you know, would you be interested in the gig? Because what happened was they had a girl singer, as they call it in the big band terms, and I was the ancient boy vocalist, you know, but she had gotten laryngitis and just couldn't, some kind of hysterical thing, couldn't utter a note. And so they had nobody singing for the entire night. So they decided they would get a guy who could sing some of the rock tunes or whatever. And like, he said to me, he says, well, you won't get your artistic rocks off here, but he says, you make some good money and you know, play some good tunes.
Sure.
You know, and that's where I learned how to go from Hank to Frank, you know, and, you know, singing Frank Sinatra is a challenge.
Sure
It
did.
was,
Sure did.
definitely needed some help to get through that. You know.
And those guys, for the most part, would hand you charts that were if they were stealing from an artist, which most stuff was, they would always be in that artist's key.
Yeah,
And so you chasing the key part of the night
yeah,
until your throat gives out or until you hit the key. Yeah, it's a rough deal. And those guys work a lot, and you worked well with them, I'm sure.
Yeah, I worked for them from like 1988 to 2008.
Wow.
Yeah, 20 years. I mean, it's hard to imagine that I could hold a job for 20 years aside from the post office. You know?
I can't imagine the tuxedo you wore with
Well, to imagine, I look sharp in the tuxedo. However, the idea of me in a tuxedo singing YMCA perhaps will, discourage anyone from singing it too admirably.
that stuff bad dreams are made of. You know.
Yeah, well, the thing is, with the jogging orchestra, as you know, every band has certain expectations as far as what they're going to play.
Sure.
And you're always playing parties to people. They want your popular tunes. And so...
Everybody wants to play Celebrate.
Yeah. Well, you remember Tom McCarthy?
Yes.
Yeah. I was talking to him one time about it because I was at a benefit for Mark Hanna. And we were talking. And I said, Tom, I played with the Society Orchestra. And I said, I always felt like there was a line I didn't want to cross when it came to music. And he says, well, what kind of line? I said, well, let's put it this way. I'm doing YMCA in a tuxedo. And he says, Kent, that's way over the line.
Oh, yes. More than one toke over the line. Indeed it is. And it humbles you in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's not bad for the soul, to go into the, for lack of a better term, the dark side or the different side to see what goes on there. It's like going to live in Kansas City or something. You've heard about it and you may go check it out. You certainly don't want to live there, but I mean, no offense, anybody from Kansas City.
My wife took that.
Really? Jesus. All right, well.
Nice job.
Okay.
That's okay.
Let's see. Erie. Anybody here
Yeah.
from Erie?
Okay.
Oh, yeah. When I go to, I spent a day in
It's
Erie.
different, yeah.
And that was plenty. But at least I got to see
It was
it.
a world that I never imagined that I would occupy. Because there were times where I was just, like so overwhelmed by the music. Because you get like 4 bars to, come in.
Yeah?
And they go to you, what do you want to do? And you go, how about There Will Never Be Another You? What key? And then they hold up their fingers, because nobody could hear, and tell you what key, sharp or flat, and then and you always got to be ready. And sometimes the weird thing is you're ready, but you never sing.
Yeah.
I mean, I had one job we did like with another band, and it was a strange gig because the guy, I didn't know the guy, and he was the leader of the band, he was bass player, singer in the band, and so I asked him to bring my. No, we just bring your list of songs, and I said, I'm going to bring my saxophone, which I was playing. Said, no. So I show up, and it's some kind of party, pre-wedding party or something.
Yeah.
And so they put me right in the middle of the band, sitting on a chair. Okay, fine. But
Give you a cocktail and a cigarette too? And,
I should.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and so Bill Scott, the bass player and leader of the band, who ran his PA through the Fender basement. So we're talking high tech. And it was a strange band because they didn't have a regular horn section. They had a flugelhorn player and a trombone player, no guitar player, a piano player, and a bass player, obviously. And so the first set goes by, and I don't sing at all. And so I'm just sitting there. I'm thinking, well, I'm getting paid.
So far, so good.
And so this girl comes up to me and she goes, we were just wondering, what do you do in the band? And I said, well, I sang when a rock tune comes around. She said, we thought maybe you were evaluating which songs were working and which songs they should play, I said, no, I don't think so. So of course, then along comes, they do Rock Around the Clock, which from Bill Scott, that's rock. And so he said, and so I'm still not singing. We're deep into the second set and I still haven't sung a note. And so they said, isn't this a rock tune? I said, I thought so. And so finally, they let me sing Twist and Shout.
Okay.
Now the band was slaughtering the changes, but that's the thing about jamming groups. They could play maybe Skylark or some classic standard tune with a zillion chords, but give them a 3-chord song, impossible. And so While they were butchering it behind me, and you know, the PA system was dubious at best.
Yeah.
But people go
People
wild.
went nuts.
They're
Absolutely.
wild.
Yeah, sure they are.
Because I'm singing Twist and Shout, they're really getting excited. And so then they let me sing Johnny Be Good. And again, and people go wild.
By this time, like, panties are flying and you know.
Yeah, well, nothing quite that exciting,
Okay.
but you know, so then I sit down and he said, okay, that's enough. And then the crowd was going, Ken,
Oh,
Ken,
man.
Ken. And I thought, this kind of stuff happens, you know. So I never sang for the rest of the night, you know, and I thought, well, okay.
This is good. I said, that's like,
Yeah,
play
two
sing two
songs.
songs. I could
Yeah, I thought to myself, when I used to play down with the Sundowners, and you'd do like 8 sets,
Yeah.
and I used to think, how much you get paid per song? And I thought, not much, you know, because you do so many songs. So in this case, 2 songs, you know.
Well, the Bar del Glory, that was like a bowl of chili and $20 or something. That wasn't a lot of money.
No,
It was more than that, but I mean, it's still, for the time you had to be there,
that was a hard
it
gig.
was a long time, it was.
Yeah.
And those guys
Well,
did,
you went from like, the trouble was it was like half an hour and half an hour.
yeah,
And so I started there with Guy Lawrence's band.
Sure.
So the Poker Chips.
Yep.
And I played for a couple of weeks with them. And then the Sundowners needed somebody to sub for them, so I did that too, you know, and it was kind of interesting.
they play and then the other, Guy Lawrence, they do a half hour. So switching off?
Yeah,
Oh,
half
yeah.
an hour each.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you had to kill so much time during that, you know, but it was an interesting place, you know, they had
Indeed it
a
was.
massive gun collection,
And
28 kinds of chili.
And at that time, there was a massive gun collection in the audience.
That's
The later it got,
Yeah.
or the earlier it got.
It was, well, you know, it was located between the Woods Theater, which was showing porno at the time,
Yeah.
and the Greyhound bus station. Might as well have been showing porno at the time. You know.
They were.
But the thing I remember is when the first time I went down there, and you know, the basement club,
Yeah.
and so they had a speaker, you know, you
On the
could hear the
street.
band,
Yeah,
and the Sundowners were doing El Paso. And a beautiful 3-part harmony, just like, you know, Marty Robinson. And I thought, man, that's a sign. This place is pretty cool, you know. So it was a nice place to play. I learned a lot, you know, working with those guys.
you couldn't help it. I mean, how could you not help it? And they were great. They were there for years, and it was a place to be. And even people who didn't like that kind of music, or maybe didn't have any recordings in their collection of that kind of music, were drawn to that was the only music that could have been played in that bar.
Yeah.
You know, nothing else would have happened. There would have been 3 people in there at 3 o'clock in the morning, as opposed to packed to the rafters at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Basically because of that. Just because of that. You know, I mean, these guys they gave you a run for your money with their outfits. They were pretty
Well,
hot.
I remember that, you know, when I got the gig with the Sundowners, Don Wells, the lead guitar player,
Yeah.
I took me aside and says, well, Ken, you know, in the Sundowners, we wear Western hats, and we wear Western shirts, cowboy boots,
Yep.
and some kind of tie.
Yeah.
So, sounds good to me, Don. And the funny thing was, years later, Kirk Delaney, who was the bass player in the group, and his wife Joan, I ran into her after Kurt had passed, and she said, you know, you're the only one that still dresses like a sundown. And I said, well, all right.
Yeah.
So you carry on the tradition. And also they're the one who changed my name, basically.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Well, you know, I'd already changed my name a couple times. You know, at one point I was Kent St. Christopher, and then it was, you know, Kent Rosenwald
I would
again.
imagine Kent St. Christopher with the furry vest. Was that about that time?
What's that?
The furry vest, was that the Kent St.
No,
Christopher?
that was when I was doing solo stuff, and I had gone out to California and played at some.
Oh, sure.
You know, I figured nobody knows me out here. I can go by any name. And I wore a St. Christopher's medal, so I thought, and I'd been in a band called St. Christopher's Poet.
Okay.
So I thought,
St. Christopher's Poet. Nice.
really hip, yeah.
Black turtleneck?
Yeah, totally. And that didn't last too long either. But, you know, it was something, another thing to learn, I guess, as much as anything.
So you've been doing the solo thing for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got
CDs, I heard they're really popular, almost as popular as cassettes.
You know, they're gonna be around for a while, I think. Though, of course, most of you have dashboards that don't have a slot in it anymore. But, you know, you can work this thing down to a jump drive and do it. But this is a great little CD. In fact, we got this one. I got all of these, you know that? I do.
Yeah, and
This one?
I'll send you a copy of the
Nice
newest
jacket,
one. It's
huh?
only on downloads, but
Nice jacket on this one, look at that.
well, that's the one I recorded in Nashville.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris Casello. And here's the artwork for a CD that is somewhere.
Yeah, someday, somewhere, someday. Yeah,
Well,
but
there's a nice album title right there.
yeah, there you
You
go.
know, somewhere someday. Also, we've got, tell us about the books. What's going on with the books?
Yeah, well, what happened was, I think you remember Marty Larkin.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, Marty put this band together to play at Wishbone on Lincoln.
Yeah.
And the whole idea was he wanted it to be a show, not just a bunch of guys playing. So he decided that I should be this guy who would hung around with Patsy Cline and drank whiskey with Tex Ritter or whatever. And so, you know, and then I thought, well, so I wrote this rhyming vignette about Hank Williams. And I started doing it, basically, you know, by memory. And that's where I got started with the first of the books, not this one, but the Hank one.
Okay, sure.
I met the guy, Adam Van Winkle, who at Cowboy Jamboree Press out in South Carolina. And so, you know, I was noticing they were having this Hank Williams issue. I said, well, you know, I got this thing with Hank that it's just kind of a long, rhyming story. And he says, yeah, well, send it to me. You know, what do you got to lose? So I thought, what have I got to lose? So they published it. And then the next thing they were coming out with was the Townes Van Zandt issue. And so then the Townes Van Zandt, I wrote them, and all of a sudden I thought, hey, I'm a published author. I can write now. You know, so, and coming from an academic family that I do, you know, writing, it's up there.
It's a natural.
So basically, it was like stories from going to see Townes Van Zandt at the Quiet Night, and he never came in for the second show.
Yeah.
And so I go up to the guy and I said, when's the second step going to start? And he says, there's nobody here. I looked around, I'm sure. Yeah, and then I thought, well, you know, okay. So I just, you know, finished my coffee, got on the L, rode back to pick up my beat up car and drove home. But because of that, you know, I had this dream at one point where a song just kind of came to me in the middle of the night, you know, and it was like a Townes Van Zandt song. And that was on the most recent record called Houston Lullaby. And so I thought, well, okay, I got a song out. And then with the John Prine issue, they asked me to write it because they wanted some local Chicago color. And so basically that's a story about me going to see Chris Christopherson at the Quiet Night.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Goodman was opening up. You know, John Ballantyne's got the whole story about that.
Right.
But that same night I was there, and I had these lyrics, and I was with my girlfriend at the time and a guitar player. And they said, yeah, you should take your lyrics to Christopherson. I thought, yeah. Because what does Christopherson know about writing lyrics? I mean, you know, so I'll go walking down there's a aisle, and I knew some of the guys, the names of the guys in the band. One of the guys was Funky Donnie Fritz, great songwriter himself. Wrote Breakfast in Bed and that kind of stuff. I mean, had a lot of hits. And so I went up to him and I said, well, hey, you know, I was wondering, these lyrics. He goes, lyrics? Lyrics? And he goes, no, if you get lyrics, you'll have to take them to Chris yourself. Good advice from a fine songwriter himself. So I go walking down to the dressing room, and I got my courage up, and I go around the corner, and Chris is talking to Joan Baez, who was in town for a benefit at Cook County Jail, I think.
Okay.
Okay. So, I walk in and I go, I'm sorry to interrupt. I got these lyrics. If you like them, you can have them. If you don't like them, you can burn them. But I couldn't stand around freaking out anymore. And then I think he said thank you. I just, like Homer Simpson heading into the bushes, I made my way out of there. What did he say? I said, how do I know? and so because of that, I went back to the Quiet Night again. And this time I got to meet Steve Goodman because we were opening for Arlo Guthrie for a week.
Okay.
And with the Bearable Band.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got to know Steve a little bit, and really, really sweet guy. He came out to hear us a bunch of things, gave me some advice on writing songs. Good advice. He's a good songwriter, And so then he told John Prine to come down to hear us. So that's how I met John Prine. So that's why I got the story, And the fourth one was about when we took the trip down to the first rodeo and toured with Tanya. That's one called Texas Wind.
Okay.
And so, I just started enjoying, writing these stories. So
So you guys opened for her. You rode with them? You all rode together to Texas with her?
Yeah, she had a tour bus.
Right.
Yeah, and so we basically took the train, which there used to be a train that ran to Nashville, and we all went down there, and then we went out to her big place. I mean, she owned quite a bit of property and stuff, and it's a weird thing, because she was 15, but she was terrified. I mean, you think Tanya, as her brother always called her, ladies and gentlemen, we do welcome, please, MCA recording us, Tanya Tucker.
Yeah.
And so we learned, a set of songs, and we started playing all these jobs.
Did you know Norman Steele?
I knew who he was. I met him a couple times, yeah.
Yeah, he played with her.
Did he? Okay.
And I met Norman through John Gear, Catfish John.
Oh, Captain John, yeah.
And we
Played at Clearwater.
Clearwater, Nashville North with Dave Gibson for a long time.
Yeah.
And over at Governor's, Ray Hilbert's place. And that's where I met Norman. Because he was playing with Ray. And he was a great guy and a massive character. I mean, he was just a character. He had that skinny little mustache thing going, and slick back hair, and he was a real good guitar player and a good bass player. And he would always give me, when I was using a pick for a while, and he showed up at a gig, and he saw me playing bass with a pick, and he said, well, throw that son of a bitch away, you don't want to play that. And I never did. I started, here, that was the last time I ever used a pick. Yeah, he was a good guy. He was definitely a legend in his own time, and still now. There's Norman stories that are pretty out there.
Yeah, well, there used to be a whole scene of characters as far as I was concerned, because I worked the Round Lake Circuit and Kenosha. I mean, you haven't lived till you played Badger Cheese at Kenosha, so, and then we played some clubs. The band was called Heading South, but I was always heading north because they all lived in Kenosha, so I played with them for a while.
The Dickens brothers were up that way, I like Dale Dickens and Ronnie. Ronnie played with Waylon for a while.
Yeah.
And Dale played, the clubs around here, all the name clubs at the time, and he was a killer guitar player too.
Dale Dickens, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing about the Dickens family was, if you work out like you get to know every aspect of the Dickens family. They're like a clan.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
They're all celebrities.
Because Dale's dad, Harold, had been a bouncer in town, and he was known as Slow Walking Harold because he could sneak up and hit you with a blackjack before you knew what hit you.
Yeah.
And so he ran the club, and I played sometimes. I remember playing with Dale and Daryl and Danny, the three Ds. There were three different Dannys who all played drums. It didn't matter who's playing drums. Danny. Yeah, so
but
which Danny?
if you played drums, you were now called Danny. It wouldn't matter if you were Steve. Now you're Danny.
Yes, so we're playing, and all of a sudden there's just me and Daryl and Danny, and Dale's helping his dad, break up a fight,
Yeah.
win a fight. I'm not sure what was going on.
Probably a little bit of both.
Like Dale said, hey, help my dad. And Ronnie was that way too. I mean, it was actually, Ronnie was the guy. One night, I went down to Pam's Playhouse. I'd never been there before,
Now known as Carol.
Carol's, yeah, before it was Carol's. And so, I was with one of the guys from the band and Dave Laser, songwriter. And so we went in to hear him, and it was supposed to be Ray Hilburn and Coyote.
Yeah.
But it was only three guys because Ray took Sunday off or something. And so, they sounded good, Ronnie, great guitar player, and stuff. And so one of the guys said, you ought to go up and sing a couple. I said, well, I don't even know them.
Yeah.
He said, that doesn't matter.
Not there.
And so I went up and I sang Mom Tried.
Yeah.
And then we sang the Allman Brothers' Ramblin' Man. And then I started getting calls from them. And I'd go out to Bit of Country or Country Palace, which changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a place where chunks of asbestos would be falling from the ceiling. It was definitely a rough joint. So.
They were so much. Well, that's part of that thing we talked about earlier. That side that white guys from the north side. We're all of a sudden we're finding ourselves in 4 o'clock clubs or later clubs. Stone Park, 6 o'clock in the morning. Your drink comes off the table. 6:31, open again. The stable where there'd be bands every hour. They would switch hours. Bands like Black Lace played there, and we played there. And not only were they goofy enough to give people an hour off, an hour.
Leads to trouble.
They rented a room for the bands across the street at the whatever motel it was or something on Lake Street. So now you're sending somebody, many people we know, and some we didn't, but that became acquainted with. You're sending these people off across the street to a motel room for an hour.
Good luck.
It's a wonder that we lived through it, and some didn't. But it's just all part of the scene, and all those clubs, Johnny's 83, and Nashville North, and oh my God, what a
The
good
country music,
yeah. Well, that's. I played there with Dale, and there was a husband and wife team.
Jim and Libby Shepherd.
He played the piano, and she kind of fronted the band. And wow, those are we could be here. We could make this like a 3-parter and never run out of stories. They'd all be good ones. It's just a great time, and it's a great time now. I think you're working a lot. And you're playing around. You're all over the place.
Yeah, I think I played less, but I picked the job more carefully.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I've been having some of the songwriting showcase and stuff like that, as well as band gigs and stuff like that, which I enjoy.
And some really eclectic gigs that I think are very cool. Do you still do the Who's Your Mama?
No, the pandemic put an end to my 10 years of playing on the street at 7:30 in the morning on the day before Thanksgiving, outside.
Regardless of the weather, ladies and gentlemen, he'd be out there on the street playing in front of Who's Your Mama Pie Company. There'd be a line down the street because, it's the day before Thanksgiving, so everybody's there to collect their pies that they'd ordered. And here he is, again, madly dressed as always, standing out in front of the place. It could be 40 degrees, could be 30 degrees, could be 18 degrees with a wind chill like 3 below. And he's out there playing and singing all morning long. It was quite admirable. Had a really good time. You got a lot of work out of that too, didn't you?
Yeah, what happened was people would hear me there.
Yeah.
And what happened was the first year I was, they wanted me to play both outside and inside. So after the line was gone, there were still people coming in, so I'm playing inside, but nobody's everybody's done shopping for the day, sort of. But there's one guy who's sitting there, and he keeps making requests and stuff like that. And I said, sure, play that, play that. So the next year, he sends him a letter, and it turns out he runs this food film festival that out of New York, and what they do is they show you a movie, and while you're watching this movie, they bring the food or the wine or whatever it is they produce to you while you're sitting in the audience. And so I played 4 years, I think, at that as well. Plus I got weddings, memorial ceremonies.
Sure.
Because people would keep my business card, and they would remember me. I even got a gig at that really nice restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, you kind of go, yeah, because I'm willing to go out there and punish myself.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, and you do that well. I would imagine the memorials, do they find your card in somebody's pocket or they,
Well, what happened was this, a woman called me up and she said she'd got my business card like 2 years before. And her father was a big country music singer. He loved, Waylon and stuff like that. It was a ceremony for him at Lakeshore Country Club in Glencoe. I thought to myself, wow, that's pretty far from me, but a return to, you can't go home again. But
Yeah.
I did.
as soon as you get out the blue sweater and
No, I left that at home.
Oh.
But by then I had abandoned all my Arnold Palmer insignia, sweaters. So.
Cool. Well, it's like the Grateful Dead tune. It's a long, strange trip, and it's not over yet. We still have pulses. Our fingers still do that.
Yeah, well,
And-
my hands are not great, but the thing is, I think, there's a story which I don't know if it's true or not, but it's out.
Yes, I'm a big fan of it.
So the story goes that he was going to play this concerto or something. He comes out and a string breaks just as he's starting to play. He then, according to legend, adapts it to three
Three
strings.
strings. Yeah.
Now, some people say he didn't really do it, but I like to believe he did.
I would believe that story all day.
Because he says sometimes it's up to the artist to use what's left.
Yeah.
And I thought, good.
Yeah. And good words to live by. I mean, even if you're, whatever your vocation or avocation is, it's good to use it till you can. Speaking of using it, why don't you do a song?
Huh?
Why don't you do a song?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. You want me to do one of mine, and then we'll do something together?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll sit here and watch and have my drink. Go ahead.
Well, all right. This is what I call my anniversary song. Because I wrote it on my wife and my anniversary. We just celebrated number 33.
By the way, Kansas City was really nice.
Okay. Well, I like Kansas City.
It was really nice.
Yeah, we always talk about it. I mean, but
Oh, man.
that's all right. She'll forgive me.
I hope.
Thinking about things that I could do to let you know that I love you. All the years forever true. Golden ring. Thinking about things that I could say that touch your heart in every way. I'm so glad that you'd stay. My heart sings thinking about things, thinking about you. Hoping that you think about me too. Oh, all our nights forever blue. The joy love brings, thinking about me. Thinking about things that I could be a confidant so naturally. How I hear that melody, a guitar string. Thinking about things thinking about you, hoping that you think about me too. The longer nights forever blue, the joy love brings, thinking about things like guitar string, thinking about things golden red, thinking about things.
Very nice, very nice. The crowd goes wild.
I know,
Yeah,
they do.
they're a well-behaved bunch out there, aren't they? Yeah, they're very nice, very nice. Oh, that's cool. When did you write that?
I wrote that like probably about 20 years.
Wow, really?
Yeah. It was like that was never like I was playing a show at Schuber's opening for Jackie Green. Not Jack Green, but Jackie Green. And I thought, Jack Green, excellent. Jackie, who's this guy? You know, but anyways, so, and then I played that song. And of course, Marty Larkin was trying to manage me at the time. And he goes, well, how come you didn't play that song sooner? That's the best song you got. I said, well, Marty, best song I got is the next one I write.
That's right, exactly.
And then he said, well, you know, you got to record a full band version of that. I thought, I don't think I do, but okay. So, yeah, so I wrote it a while ago, and it's always been, there are people who told me they sing it with their kids and stuff like that, which is a nice thing when people get to know your songs that way. And so.
Hey, you know, sing with their kids, you can do a real covert, you know, and start a whole thing with, get a Disney contract.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm working on it.
I'm sure it's crushed you. What about this guitar? This is
This is it's made by the Golden Company, but it's Simon and Patrick.
okay.
And I mean, I have other guitars and stuff, but this one, I went to look for a guitar. Okay, I was giving up electric guitar. I had a Telecaster that I was selling because you know I never really adapted to electric guitars. Even when I was a teenager, I played Wild Dog from Burns of London. I had no idea how to play it. So I just keep buying different guitars, figuring I'd be better on this guitar. Went from that to a Fender Jazzmaster, to a Rickenbacker 12, to a Gibson J160E, you know, and I kind of think acoustic is my thing. And what I liked about this was sometimes you pick up a guitar and you feel like there's songs.
Yep.
And in this case, this model is called the Songsmith. So I thought, well, who am I to ignore this hint? You know, so, and I felt, and I have written a batch of songs on it, so I just like it, you know.
And it's got everything right. It's got electrics in it. It's got a tuner in it.
And it's even easier to put the battery than most of them.
Oh,
you know, a lot of that's one of the things, man, if your battery goes out on these things.
And it gets where the battery's on the neck post on the inside. So you have to spread your strings out and get your hand down way back in there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it's got a battery compartment right on the back end, right?
yeah.
Nice.
Which is, you know, to me, it's like, why didn't Ovation think of that? You know,
Yeah, they were the first ones out of the chute, really, with that whole, that round back lyricord, whatever that material is.
yeah, well, yeah, the composite back
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, and you know, I take over the years, I've taken heat from people about playing the Ovation. Marty Larkin told me never have a picture taken with that Ovation. I said, okay, Marty.
Not unless they send you money.
Yeah. And so you know, it was funny how people get interested in music. Like we went to H&R Block. They have our taxes paid. So the guy, I'd never met him before, and he says, well, you know, I've been looking into your music. And I said, really? And I thought that was kind of cool. And he goes, I think you might be familiar with some of the people that I really, really like. And he said, what, Wilder? And I said, yeah. I said, I'll open a show for him. And the funny thing was, Webb, you know, he saw, I wore a really nice Manuel jacket when I saw Webb, and he really admired it and stuff. And then Webb sees me playing my Ovation with the Manuel jacket. He goes, $1,000 worth of jacket, $17 worth of guitar.
He's a character. You know, he still is.
Yeah. So then he asked me, have you ever heard of Wayne the Train Hank? I said, yeah, I opened shows for him. His guitar player I used to play with when I was in Madison, Wisconsin. Yeah,
There are no degrees of separation, you know.
yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm opening for Wayne to train, and this guy comes up to me and he goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "Kent Rose." And he goes, "Would you also be Kent Roosevelt?" Yeah. And he goes, "And going back even further, would you also be Kent St. Christopher?" And it turned out he and his fiddle player used to come over to my apartment when he lived in Madison, and we'd play, you know, Bob Wills tunes and Hank Williams tunes and stuff, and just, you know, play it. And so there you are. And like, I thought he was most impressed the fact that I'd been married 20 years at the time. He says, "Man, that's impressive."
That truly
He
is.
was a really, really good guitar player. I don't know what he moved back to Green Bay. I think he spent about 6 years working with Wayne Train. And
Yeah, there's,
you never know who's going
You
to be
absolutely
paying attention to music.
you know, when somebody asks your name, you're not sure if they're from the IRS too. You
Yeah.
gotta be careful. Webb Wilder, we did a show with him and Nicolette Larson in Rockford Waterfront Festival. And before anybody was playing, we were just hanging out backstage, and he throws his guitar case on the hood of, I don't know whose car it was. It wasn't his, but it didn't matter. He just sat there, flips it open, takes a pair of wire cutters, and just boom, 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 pops his strings. Doesn't detune them, doesn't know anything, just pops them, and proceeds to change his strings. But didn't bother with going through all the crap of, as you're supposed to, you know? So, you know, I felt sorry for the guitar, you know, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
it gets hit a neck lash or whatever. Yeah, it was a traumatic experience for the guitar, but he was, yeah, he was crazy. They were very good. They good band.
Oh,
Still are.
Webb is one of the great performers.
He shows up at Fitzgerald's every couple
He's
years.
there, I think, somewhere near the end of June.
Yeah, yeah. Well, near the American Festival.
Yeah,
It's a free plug, Will. Just remember that, okay?
yeah. No, I mean, he's a regular. He plays, his band's a little smaller these days, and he sometimes does solo gigs
Yeah.
as well, but totally nice guy.
Yep.
You know, and that's the thing, you know, that's why you like to open shows for people, because you get to meet them. You want to open shows for people you go see in. You know, where Chuck B from the R5, a bunch of shows for him and stuff, and Unknown Hinson, and all these weird acts, because I used to play a lot of strange gigs down at Wedges. You know, like I'd be on this a bill where there are like 7 bands. Yeah, and barbecue at noon, and so I'd be opening the show, and every band on there sounded like Dangerous.
Yeah.
I mean, Kentucky Knife Fight. That was one of the bands. Gun. You know, okay.
That says it all.
Ken Rose, yeah.
Yeah. That says it all. Yeah, I play with gun. Okay.
Yes, but that was the thing. You work with different people, and it's fun to hear other people and see what they do with the opportunities on stage too.
Yeah, I was looking at a YouTube thing last night that was a documentary on side persons, side persons,
Oh, yeah.
people, who there's one guy he was a KISS drummer. He was like the third or fourth or however many that they've had, but it didn't matter. You know, he paid it up and did it, and he got the call. You know, he was another guy who was a drummer also, and well known and played with either Whitesnake or Foreigner, or there was some big ass
One of those general,
some stadium band. You know, I mean, big tours, big money, and the next thing he's talking about is he's painting his house, because that's what he was doing. That's what he did on his off time. He was a house painter. And here comes the guy from Guns N' Roses up the driveway, and he turns out he's painting the guy from Guns N' Roses' house. You know, so you're all over the place, and you do something, and then you get to do what we do. And I you know, as crappy as some experiences have been, I'm glad they're there. You know, first of all, you get something to compare it to. Plus, you get a great story, and you always walk away. You learn something. You always learn something. And speaking of great stories, you got to have some good Tanya Tucker stories. I mean, Norman had a ton of them. And he would say that her dad would come in before the show and tell them that she was like the next Elvis. And they better be really, really, really happy that they were allowed to play with her. And that was like his new Rocky talk, before the gig. So that being said, the Tanya Tucker story you told earlier that I saw today has a song involved in it.
Yeah,
Well,
that's right.
Play it. Let's play it.
Did Oklahoma Rain?
Sure, okay, got
Okay.
it.
Chart. Okay.
You like that?
1975. Looking out the window of Tanya Tucker's tour bus on our way to the Santa Rosa Roundup in Vernon, Texas. Coming through an Oklahoma rainstorm, lightning struck the moon and split the sky, and the thunder rolled away like cannons from heaven, and raindrops fell the way old lovers cry. The road down to Texas did long and forever, so I dreamed like I dreamed till it seemed like I'm home. Believe me, I'll return. These ain't bridges that I burn. Oh, but the hardest part is leaving you alone. Come through an Oklahoma rainstorm, lightning struck the moon and split the sky, and the thunder rolled away like cannons from heaven, and raindrops fell the way old lovers cry. An Oklahoma rainstorm, lightning struck the moon and split the sky, and the thunder rolled away just like cannons from heaven, and raindrops fell the way old lovers cry.
There you go, Oklahoma rainstorm.
Yeah, I remember writing the lyric, literally looking out the window just like that. And I didn't write the melody for like 45 years afterwards.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, I kept thinking, I need to write the second verse. And I thought, well, I got one verse.
Works for Merle Haggard, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, quite a few. These pals of mine, what was that story about?
Well, that's when I was getting back into doing the solo thing and playing clubs again. I went out to the Big C that used to have it at Martyrs, and so I met some of the rockabilly crowd, despite the fact that no pompadour, no leather, no tattoos. But nonetheless, they seemed to be accepting of me. And I met this couple, really nice, and they came out to hear me, and I would see them at gigs and stuff like that, and I wound up planning the wedding and all that. And I was thinking how nice it is, when people actually pay a cover charge and all that kind of stuff. And I gave them I was playing a gig at Wise Fools, and the newer Wise Fools, I guess, at that point. And I gave them a 4-song EP, the first record. And so the headline is John, the Sons of the Soil.
Okay.
He said to me, "You can't do that." I said, "What do you mean I can't do that?" He said, "That CD has value." I said, "It does. But so does two people coming out and paying a cover charge and coming to hear me whenever I play someplace." So basically, they got the first 2 verses, and by the 3rd verse, my parents, who were gone by that point, they stole it, and they got the 3rd verse. So, it's just about, I think, I played, These Pals of Mine is one of those songs that has been really good at various places. Like I played down at Jesse Brown VA Hospital, and they were willing to let me play my own tune. They felt that it fit what they do, when they had these POWMA things and stuff like that. And during the pandemic, they had to do virtual, so I sent them a video of that. And so, they really liked it. And when my younger brother died about 1.5 years ago, and at his celebration of life they had for him, that's the song I sang.
Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, it's one that's held up pretty well, I think. So I was dedicated to people that are still around and friends that are no longer. Shall we?
Yeah, let's go to work.
I hear the rain, it's coming down. I bet it rains on the other side of town and over there. Across the line, I won't forget these pals of mine. The night gets cold, might freeze again. Ain't been this way since I can't remember when. A lonesome moon, the stars that shine, the light the road for these pals of mine, these pals of mine. They get the news, don't live on reruns or regrets or someone else's blues. And so they die with arms entwined out on the floor. These pals of mine. Sometimes I cry, something like pain. I take a ride on that old memory train and see us all now left behind to carry on. These pals of mine, these pals of mine. They get the news, don't live on reruns or regrets or someone else's blues. And so they die with arms entwined out on the floor. These pals of mine, and they'll always be each Valentine to carry on. These pals of mine. Oh,
This pal of mine, Ken Rose, everybody. Go see him, buy the books. I mean, this is some good stuff. And soon there'll be a CD to fill this jacket, so stay tuned for that. And Ken, thanks, man.
Thank you, Rich.
Thanks for being here. Always good to see you, always fun to play with you. And cheers, everybody. We'll see you again for another round real soon.